Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is the Commando Cast, a video cast about all things Star Wars Destiny. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. Hello everyone, welcome to the Commando Cast. I'm Andrew with you here as always, and good morning. So as of today, we are 1 week away from the release of Faltering Allegiances, Set 11, the fan-made set for Star Wars Destiny, which will trigger rotation. So, as per tradition, whenever a new set drops, I like to go back and look at the existing characters that are still legal, and look at which ones I think will make an impact as that new set drops and in the meta going forward. So that's what we're talking about today, is Better with Age, Faltering Allegiances Edition. Hey guys, thanks for joining me again for, like I said, the tradition continues. Used to do this. I thought when we did it for Covert Missions, it might be the last one we ever do, but thankfully it's not. Thank you, Renewed Hope. So yeah, just a reminder, October 16th is the release date for Faltering Allegiances. So to be fair though, as of the time I'm shooting this, we've only seen 15 spoilers. Now, why that's important is I think, I haven't gone back and actually run the numbers, right? So that's exactly 1/6 the set, because they've cut it down to 90 cards. Or at least as per last I heard. But why that's relevant is that I think that on any other FFG release, we've known the majority of the set, right? Because they do their own fan card, they used to at least do their own articles, and then they had, spoiler season-ish start a couple weeks before. And for the last couple sets, we've basically known the whole set going in. So it makes it really, really difficult to do the deck building and speculation and all that. So what I've done instead is, I've picked the top characters that I think will still be valid, based not only just on their own right, but also, the stuff we've seen. Plus, remember, we're triggering rotations, so we're losing a lot of other stuff. So, yeah, let's get right into this. So first character I have that I think will continue to have an impact is Bail Organa. He's just really efficient as a support character. I don't think Admiral's going anywhere, right? And if we get more titles or other stuff like that, I mean, you can look at Jyn. There's an argument to be made that he's potentially a better pairing than Cassian for the moment. I mean, we'll have to see. Again, we just haven't seen enough of the set to really definitively make that statement, but I think that there's a lot of possibilities out there with just that title discount. If we get any more titles, he's going to become a better facilitator as it is. Also, with Mono being, he's also made appearances in Mildex. Now, do keep in mind that Rebellion Leader's rotating out, so that's not quite the issue there, but I don't know, I think just at his price point and what he does and what he can facilitate, I think he's going to continue to be at least somebody that we see or at least think about in decks going forward. Next up on this list, my number 2 is big ol' Papa Palp, Unlimited Power. I don't think there's really a surprise to many people to see him on this list. Now, he of course is losing a bunch of abilities. I mean, honestly, the biggest impact to him losing abilities might be Force Jump, right? I mean, there's other stuff out there, but he has, I think, enough tools in Convergence to keep him somewhat relevant, right? I mean, he has still Mastermind. He does lose Bartering. Actually, that's not irrelevant, so I grant you that as well, from the Watto pairing. But I think that, there's no way we're not going to see more blue abilities. We saw Cal, well, I guess Cal was Hero, but I would be very surprised if we didn't see at least some subset of blue abilities. which will just continue to feed this guy. And between force, well, so force lightning, it's not force light, force storm, death field, Xian, Neiman, all that stuff's still in his block, so it's all still around. Those are all great tools for him. Admiral's not going anywhere. I think Modi's in his set. Like, he doesn't really lose that many tools except for jump and bartering, and I mean a couple other onesie twosie type stuff. But I think Palp's in still pretty good position to sit where he is. The other guys to make this list are R2 and C3PO. I actually have them both on here. We can toggle back and forth as we talk about them, but these guys are just good, right? The two of them can form the framework for, for about anything that we see. I mean, we've got a 911 and an 811, and FC's still legal if. Oh well, sorry, that's restricted. Never mind there, but I did. It's just there's too many options with these guys to do nasty things. I mean, even if you don't change the pairing that they're with now, put them with Satine, or you could try to do Han or whatever. I don't see the efficiency of the droids going away. There may be certain things that can upset it or misseed it, and I hope there are, but I still think that these guys are going to be poking their heads, poking their shiny heads up from time to time throughout the meta. I just think that there's no way really around it. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, it's, if we can take away some of their tools, but, again, a lot of their support stuff, they don't need a whole bunch of good stuff. Like, they are just good, and they can make a lot of, well, they need good stuff. But my point is that they make a lot of stuff good, I guess is the better way to say that, right? I mean, they can take a Chewie's blaster and make Chewie's blaster highly efficient, and there'll be other stuff that they can take and make highly efficient as well. So it may not surprise you to see Satine on this list as well, for honestly many of the same reasons that the droids were on there, or I should say R2 and 3PO were on there. Satine, just at her price point, her money facilitation, the reroll, there's no way she's not good. Right? I mean, there's no way she's not useful. I mean, she's just too good. You can play her with Jin that we've seen in the new set. I mean, there's tons of options out there. She's always been in that sweet spot, and I don't see any reason that stops. She doesn't even need really in particular cards. Now, yes, Yellow loses Yellow loses some significant tools, especially Yellow Hero. They lose Entangle. I know that's neutral, but they lose Entangle. They lose Pickings. So yes, there are some significant Yellow drop tools there, but you have to assume that there's going to be something usable. And you know what? At the very least, Reap's still a thing. Her price point's too good for her to just disappear in the meta, right? So I'm not saying that there's going to be some tier 1 pairing out of her, but I would be shocked if there wasn't a bunch of tier 1.5s or betters with her. So now we're getting to the part of the list that, let's be honest, most of the choices that I had so far in the front, aside from maybe Bale, were pretty obvious choices. This guy, Imperial Death Trooper, you guys know I like him anyway. I like running the 5 wide. I think it's really cool design space. But he's really good, not just because of his cost to health, but that power action to facilitate money is a pretty big deal, right? He's very clutch where you need him to be, and sitting at that 11 point slot really opens up a lot of options. I mean, obviously you can play him at 8 or 11. He's a good 11 point character, right? I mean, he's not as good as the droids and Satine in terms of ramping, which is really the way to win this game, but he can help you ramp, or he can flip to damage, and he brings red to the table. He's a trooper. A lot of good things going on there. I do think that Imperial Death Trooper is going to serve a very real and valid purpose going forward in the meta. My last guy on my numbered list, if you will, is Dengar. So with the point reduction of him to 13 points, it really being at 13 points, versus being at 14 points is really a big deal in terms of pairings. Now, again, that's pairings that we've seen. We don't know how that'll go with the new set, but I think Dengar opens up a lot of really cool things for villain. Now, the drawback here it will be very dependent upon how card intensive his partner is, right? Because we've seen time and time and again that having to pack your deck full of bounties can be a serious drawback. And that's why, if you have someone who needs 12 upgrades because they need to override into big upgrades or whatever it may be, then you're going to start running into some logistical problems there with him. But again, I think Dengar at that price point for what he brings is a pretty good option. So I wouldn't be shocked if he does rear his head into some kind of oddball. It'd be like second wave type, right? Because it's not going to be, it's probably not going to be super obvious who to pair him with. I wouldn't be surprised if he, gets paired up with, I know, some 17-point red guy, 17-point blue guy, something like that. I think that he's just, I think that he's just a facilitator, right? He fits that slot really well. He's a really good 13-point character with what he does if you can make the deck work. So don't count this guy out at all. Alright, so Mace Windu, and I have to be honest with you guys, this is actually the second version of recording this particular segment. The reason is because I came into this thinking that Cal Kestis and Mace was going to be like the bomb, because Mace could go dig for those upgrades for Cal. And to be clear, I meant both of them elite, which adds up to 31. And then that was just my bad. For some reason in my head, Cal was 30, or was 15, or 14, excuse me, which is not the case. The two of them add up to 31, so that does not work, and that's my bad. I mean, it's not my bad because technically I didn't publish it, but like I said, this is the second time of this. So that is why Mace is here fundamentally. However, I don't think it changes my overall argument, right? I think that the reason I like Mace being good going forward is this, especially because this set, they've very publicly said that this set they want to focus on monocolored pairings. And that means that inherently you're going to skew towards too wide. It doesn't necessarily mean middle, like we've seen Jin Cassian already. So it doesn't mean middle in the traditional sense, but it does mean we're going to skew towards too wide pairings. So Mace sitting at 16, I think in a meta that goes away from the three wide dual color or three wide rainbow, his ability to dig, he essentially gives you card advantage. Right? I mean, yes, you can miss and all that, but he essentially gives you card advantage, and I think that's really, really, really strong. And I just think that the only reason that he didn't become super great since Convergence onward, I mean, yes, it was Mace, Sateen, BTL. I still think Mace Wookiee Tribe is great. But, the reason he didn't shine in a competitive meta is he just didn't have the oomph, right? But I think in a meta where we're skewing towards a too wide, I think Mace can definitely bring that oomph, for lack of a better term. So that's why he's in my honorable mention. I don't necessarily have any super great thing for him, but I still think he can really bring a lot to the table, potentially. So we'll have to see what he can do. So the last honorable mention is actually, it's a pairing, and I think it makes sense, kind of like the R2 C3PO thing. Reylo. Reylo, I think, is still good. I think it'll still be relevant. I mean, a lot of their key cards were in their set or their block, but they lose a lot of tools, and that's why they're in the honorable mention slot and not necessarily in the super relevant slot. Losing crossguard. I mean, crossguard, some decks play it, some decks don't, of the Reylo fashion, but crossguard's good. Steadfast, I think, is a huge loss for them. Motive, and so on. But their synergy's so good, and I think that we'd be crazy to think that they're not somehow going to be relevant in the new meta, even if it drops from tier 1 to tier 2. I think they're still going to be there. There's a lot of people who just like, shout out to Nathaniel, right? Nathaniel loves Raylo. He's basically sold off everything. He's just a Raylo guy, and he's not the only one out there. There are other people out there who exclusively play Raylo, and I would be very surprised if we don't see some, and not just because of that, but just their synergies natural. I mean, just being able to combine both the hero and the villain sides and make a good deck. I think definitely they have a lot to bring to the table, and I'd be very shocked if we don't see them going forward. So that is it for the characters that just popped out to me. Again, I think that it's a little more difficult than we've seen in the past because we haven't seen a huge amount of the new set, and obviously in early meta, the new set reigns predominant. I mean, that's just the way it works because everybody's excited about it. Everybody's trying to try out the new stuff, which is completely reasonable, right? And that's why I had Mace as the honorable mention. I don't know whether that deck's going to be good or not. It looks like it's pretty intuitively good, but I don't know if he's going to make it into other pairings. Whereas, Bale, I think Bale could definitely bring something. A lot of the other characters that I mentioned, I think, serve the framework or at least serve a slot for a lot of potential other decks, whereas, Mace is really just that one spot. But anyway, those are my cold takes, right? Not knowing much about this next set, but what do you think? Who else are you excited? I'm sure that there's other stuff out there that we haven't seen. I mean, the fourth sister, whatever. I forget which sister it was. The 13.1 we just saw. She looks like a good facilitator as well. So who knows what we will see going forward. But very excited about October 16th. Again, make sure that you're checking all the various channels, looking for spoilers or whatever. Let me know what you guys are thinking. If nothing else, guys, go Commando.